Two biggest Medicaid fraud cases ever brought in the district.
The fraudster is reportedly spending the money on luxury cars, jewelry, and dozens of homes. But the alleged crimes don't just come at a taxpayer's cost. Officials also revealed the human cost.
One defendant is charged with defrauding the Integrated Community Supports Medicaid program. This program is designed to help individuals with disabilities live independently. One patient was supposed to be receiving 24-hour care through this program, but he was actually being serviced by a fraudster and received no services. This patient was later found dead.
Meanwhile, the ringleader behind a child nutrition program scheme that stole $250 million from taxpayers was sentenced to 500 months behind bars. That is more than 41 years. Amy Bach and her co-defendants were convicted of fabricating claims for serving 91 million meals that never made it to the table.
Vice President Vance, the man tasked with leading the White House's anti-fraud task force, reacting to the news of the latest indictments with this warning.
To get rich off taxpayers, even at the cost of others' lives, just as that fraudster had for many months before. This kind of behavior is sickening. It's disgusting. It's an affront to all of us as Americans, and today we're saying clearly, no more. Our message is simple. If you're committing fraud, our task force will find you. We'll come after you, and we will not rest until justice is served.
And joining us now, Republican candidate for Senate in Minnesota and host of the Michelle Tafoya podcast, Michelle Tafoya. Michelle, good to see you.
Great to see both of you.
Look, I'm in agreement with everything the vice president just said.
Absolutely.
It is disgusting what has happened to the American taxpayers in this fraud. And I think this is exactly what the people wanted. They wanted an investigation, indictments, and now see people being sentenced to lengthy prison sentences to pay a price for this.
The word I hear constantly on the trail is accountability. Like, when are these people going to pay the price? We know there's been fraud. We know we've been ripped off. We know that the people who were supposed to receive these programs or services were not. But when are we going to see handcuffs? Well, we're starting to see them. You mentioned Amy Bach, the ringleader of the Feeding Our Future scandal. You know, that's a long sentence, 41 and a half years. And apparently she sobbed in court. But there are a lot of people that I spoke to who said it's not long enough. $250 million of taxpayer funds that was supposed to go to kids' meals. Shell companies set up, money moved around and distributed so that people could live lavish lifestyles on the taxpayers' money. So it's not just us in Minnesota, it's every federal taxpayer across the country who is ripped off.
Yeah, you know, Michelle, I know when you announced that you were going to be running, I was excited because I know how passionate you are about pretty much everything you do, whether it's sports, politics, you name it. And so was the fraud component one of the biggest reasons that you decided to run after what you had been observing in Minnesota, or was it something else?
No, this was a big part of it. I remember when the Feeding Our Future fraud came out and was exposed, and I was furious, absolutely furious. Now we find out there are more of these programs, as was announced yesterday. Just this one, 15 arrests amounting to about $90 million worth of fraud. Now, next to $250 million, that sounds small. These things are going to add up. And according to this press conference yesterday, we are going to see billions and billions and billions of dollars exposed to be fraudulent. So I loved that this press conference was sharp. It was pointed. It was, hey, I think the quote was, eat, drink, and be merry now because we're coming to get you. And they proved that, and they continue to prove that. This is the kind of visible, tangible results that Minnesotans want. So nobody's satisfied with just what we're seeing now, but we at least feel like there's hope that this is going to go on for the foreseeable future, and all of these criminals will be brought to justice. And if I have anything to say about it, they will. I'm going to support the Deporting Fraudsters Act in Washington, D.C., which would also send any guests of America who come here on fraud tourism, they're going to be sent home with no opportunity to return.
Yeah, I think this is reassuring for people
to
see, like you said, Michelle, people get put in cuffs and actually face punishment now after some investigating. Let's get to this. Ilhan Omar We know earlier this week, the Vice President, J.D. Vance, he mentioned Ilhan Omar, who's been accused of having ties to those involved in that Feeding Our Future scheme, saying the Justice Department looking into whether she had committed some type of crime with that. Let's take a listen.
You read the things about Ilhan Omar and about, who she married and whether she didn't marry this person or that person. It certainly seems like something fishy is there, but everybody's entitled to equal justice under the laws.
She has responded, though, by shutting down the fraud allegations. She said this to TMZ.
This is just a made-up lie because you do not investigate someone for 10 years and not come up with anything.
So then why do you think it's still being talked about?
Because these people are disgusting. They believe in weird, creepy things, and that's why they want to believe in this weird.
And
That's all I will say.
No, it's like
they're racist, they're xenophobic. I just happen to be Muslim.
Okay, again, that TMZ DC. Michelle, your thoughts on that?
When she says because they're racist and they believe in creepy, weird things, sounds a lot like what Tim Walz said. Hey, this is make-believe, this fraud, this is white supremacy. We just saw a white woman named Amy Bach get 41 and a half years in prison. So no, this isn't racist. This is about money. This is about doing the right thing. This is about returning integrity to society, trust in our government. That is just absolutely essential. So there's a lot of smoke around Ilhan Omar. I agree. She deserves due process. Let's look into all of the investigations. When we talk about accountability, people want to see not just the fraudsters, but anyone in the government who was a party to this, who enabled this, who allowed this, either through a dereliction of duty or because they were in on it. It's impossible for any of us to believe that this amount of money exchanged hands without people in government knowledgeable of that, without people knowing. So that's where I think the next level of accountability is, that Minnesotans, and I think people all over the country, but specifically Minnesotans, want to see who was attached to this and why hasn't anyone been fired.
Yeah, Michelle, we have less than 30 seconds left, but you pointed out, obviously, this isn't just Minnesota. This is across the country. Do you feel that what we're seeing in Minnesota and now people trying to figure out exactly what happened and who was involved, will this be a tipping point, so to speak, for this type of investigation across the country?
Well, I certainly hope so, because as much as Tim Walz says it happens everywhere, it shouldn't happen anywhere. This is your money, our money. It shouldn't be happening. So we've got to get to the bottom of this, and we've got to root it out at every single level in every single state. This is just eroding public trust. And when people talk about affordability, my gosh, they look at their tax bills and wonder why this is happening to their money.
Takes away from services that we could have, too, as Americans.
Absolutely.
Enjoy.
Detrimental to Americans in every way.
Okay, Michelle Tafoya, always a pleasure. Best of luck. Good to see you.
Good luck.
Thank you for having me. I appreciate it.
All right.